stillats. Vad vore vår värld utan granat?
Sweden is a Nordic country with dominating moraine soils, thousands of lakes and forests all over. The forest scenery of today has evolved through interaction between human activity and natural conditions. Typical for the harsh conditions of Norrland is coniferous forest. The lowland in the central part of Sweden is characterized by mixed forest where rowan, alder, lime and ash occur in small numbers. In the southern and central parts of Sweden, wide expanses of broad-leaved forest can be found. Beech and oak and some other so-called noble hardwoods have their richest occurrence here. High productivity forests, dominated by coniferous trees, cover slightly more than half of the territory of the country. The dominating owners of Swedish forests are private farmers and a few very large forest companies. Public owners, including the state, only own a small part. The majority of high-quality timber comes from spruce and pine as required by the forest industry. The share of birch amounts to around 10%. Wood processing is one of the major branches of industry in Sweden. In the 20th century, Sweden developed into one of the major producers and exporters of wood and paper products in the world. British newspapers are printed on Swedish paper, and timber products go all the way to Japan. Over the last decades, utilization of Swedish forests has been rapidly expanding. Yet woodland territory in Sweden has not shrunk. Why? The answer is hidden in the history of the last century. Sweden too has witnessed times when the impact of human activity has been devastating on forest areas. Large quantities of charcoal were needed by the iron ore industry that developed from the 17th century. In many regions of central and southern Sweden, natural forests were cut down during the 18th and the 19th century. More and more quality timber was utilized by the rapidly expanding Swedish Royal Navy. More than 200 oak trees were used to build a big battleship in the 17th century. Substantial decrease of the oak resources forced the government to tighten control over the use of forest. The first documents on Swedish forest policy go back to the year 1647. Utilization of forest became even more extensive over the centuries to follow. Development of sustainable forest management principles started from the late 19th century. Today, this period is remembered as the starting point of sustainable forest management in Sweden. Forest felling must be limited to the annual growth of trees. After the final felling, a new forest generation must always be established. These principles born in the past were implemented as basic rules of Swedish forest policies up to 1979. Yet it was observed in the second half of the 1980s that the existence of many species in the forest was threatened. Changes in the forests had eliminated habitats suitable for various species. Advocated by scientists and nature conservationists, debates were launched to prepare the ground for essential changes in the national forest policy. In the new forest policy of 1993, the goal to protect and enhance biodiversity was given the same priority as the goal of economic production. By this, the new forest policy granted life also for the part of the forest world that is invisible to man at first sight. But it is the life lived in decayed twigs and stumps, beneath the bark or in moss-covered trunks, that makes the uninterrupted circulation of the organic matter and the survival of biodiversity possible. Areas with particularly valuable natural features for biodiversity in forests are called woodland key habitats. It is often remnants of old virgin forests that are woodland key habitats. Many key habitats have also developed from land uses of the past. Particularly characteristic of key habitats is decaying of wood. This natural process enhances the number of species and abundance of mosses, lichens, mushrooms, and insects. The first extensive inventory, in order to locate woodland key habitats, was organized in Sweden in the years from 1992 to 1998. 40,000 areas with the average size of 2 to 2.5 hectares were identified for conservation and protection, also voluntarily in privately owned managed forests. These areas of rich diversity serve as model areas of biodiversity. Deciduous trees are also highly valuable habitats and substrates from many endangered lichens, mushrooms, and insects. Oak alone can host almost 1,000 species. The number of forest owners who have made an agreement with the local government for protection of key habitats in their private forest is rapidly growing in Sweden. From here, from the key habitats, many endangered species can spread into the surrounding areas. In the near future, identification of valuable key habitats will continue in forests owned by large companies. Detailed information about registered woodland key habitats can be found on the internet. There were times when deciduous forests covered large areas in central and southern Sweden. Yet preference for coniferous timber in forest management plans resulted in deciduous trees being pushed to the background. As part of the current forest policy, the share of deciduous trees is foreseen to be increased from 10% to at least 15%. This change is necessary for the more efficient conservation of deciduous forests and to meet the industrial demand. A few sawmills and furniture factories in southern Sweden are already specialized in utilizing hardwood. Most oak and beech forests are to be found in the southeastern parts of Sweden. Efforts are today focused on expanding the oak and beech growing territory in the very south of Sweden. But implementation of these plans is constrained by the costs involved and problems caused by large deer populations. Growing large quantities of high-quality hardwood assumes lots of experience, knowledge, and scientific research. Several years ago, the Swedish Institute of Deciduous Trees was founded. There are around 300,000 private forest owners in Sweden today, and their training and good skills have always been a high forest policy priority. Their training is mainly focused on good examples and best practices. The large national campaign, Greener Forests, has been specially designed for this purpose. Courses are delivered by professional foresters and ecologists. The training sessions and workshops organized within the framework of the Greener Forest campaign normally take place in forests which are model areas of high productivity and nature-friendly management. The importance of forest for a country and its people was emphasized by King Carl XVI Gustaf at the opening of the national campaign Greener Forest on September the 1st, 1999. The climax of the festive event arrived when the king opened the symbolic book prepared specially for this day. It looks very similar to the edition produced for the Greener Forest campaign. The textbook, with an intriguing design, speaks about the core objectives of the national forest policy. The campaign has also enabled to increase the common understanding and appreciation of the many values of forest. The step-by-step development process has resulted in the versatile and balanced nature of Swedish contemporary forestry. The forest resources of Sweden will continue to grow also in the future, thereby opening up new opportunities in chemical, medical, and fuel industry. Sustainable forest management is an evolving concept that will always seek to find improvements. A good illustration of this is the Green Management Plan prepared recently. The Green Management Plan voluntarily identifies areas for forest production and for nature conservation. Implementation of the Green Management Plan enables to apply for the internationally recognized certificate issued to owners of forests managed in a sustainable manner. Woodland key habitats taken under protection, safeguarding of biodiversity in forest and forest management plans prepared with a multiple approach will make the future forest greener, more profitable, and forever reproducing. In the school children program Forest in the School, over 100,000 pupils and 10,000 teachers are constantly active. At present, they are focusing on the 3-year nationwide campaign, Greener Forest. Over years, almost 2 million children have been active at Muller School that acquaints them with the life of wild animals and plants growing in forest. Research has revealed that children who spend a lot of time in forest are healthier and have better concentration abilities. Insight into the fascinating forest world and understanding of it equips young people with knowledge and a lifelong appreciation of forest values. Almost all Swedish families have a traditional kinship with forest, which is handed down from generation to generation. Despite of the fact that over 80% of Swedes live in towns today, they still consider themselves as forest people. The total amount of visits to the forests by Swedes comes near 200 million annually, which means that each inhabitant of the country with a population of 8.5 million goes to the forest at least twice a month. Forest recreation being valuable in a fact that is also reflected in the average lifetime of Swedes, above 80 for both men and women. Time dedicated to forest helps to restore mental and physical resources and to lead a vigorous life till the old age. Urbanized Swedes of today still go to the forests for recreation and adventure, and the right of free access makes this very natural and easy. The right of free access is based on customary right for anyone to freely explore the wealth of Swedish forests.
Har du glömt att skogen är ditt hem? Att den stora, djupa, stilla skogen står och väntar på dig som en vän. Lämna stadens oro, kom till skogen åter. Endast så kan du bli hel igen. Har du glömt att skogen är din vän? Myrans vägar under himmelen. Källan där det växer upp så ljusa samtal. Gläntan där man leker med regn. Är det glömda? Minns du inte dem?